Hi students, welcome to SEKHAR's history classes. In this video, we will discuss about a question in world history. The question is about American War of Independence. Here what the question says, examine the causes for American War of Independence. We are talking the timeline between 1776 to 1783. It was the time period when American colonists fought for their independence. Here you can see the map of North America. Here North America was colony of not only Britain, some of the territories were under France control as well. But here mainly American War of Independence means the struggle of American colonists against the British Empire. So here you can see these are the British colonies. There were total 13 British colonies. Now this examine the causes for American War of Independence means how these 13 colonies fought against the British Empire and they gained empire, how they gained independence. Now here you can see clearly these are the colonies which is settled near the coastal line, and these are the settlements of mainly British Empire. Now let us see one by one what are the causes. Now here I have listed these are the causes. Here you can see in the bold lines various causes like ideas, negligible interference, defective administrative system, impact of 7 years war, economic exploitation, and immediate cause as well. Now come back to this. First of all, let us have some idea about how these colonies emerged. Here you can see 13 British colonies. Here we are talking about 18th century. In the second half of 18th century, these people fought against British Empire. Now, before 18th century, in 15th and 16th centuries, many Europeans migrated to North American continent. Here, many means Great Britain, people from Great Britain also, people from France also, people from Spain, Portuguese, different people migrated to American colonies. Here some of the reasons for the migrations were, here in Europe religious persecutions were there, and to avoid these religious persecutions some people went and settled, and some people, these governments deported criminals and other people who violated the social norms, they were deported there. And some people went for economic opportunities, some people went for to go away from the social system. Here many social restrictions were there. It was the age of feudalism here. To go away from these social norms, they went to American colonies. Likewise, there are various reasons for people migrating from Europe to American colonies. Now gradually after 2-3 centuries, now these people have gained experience how to rule for themselves, and they created their own society, and it created a different unique socio-economic setup. This propelled them to fight against the British Empire. Now in these 13 colonies, here these 13 colonies were under control of Great Britain. Now let us understand one by one. Here first one, the cause, here causes, examine the causes for American War of Independence. First one was ideas and principles and intellectual awareness. Here some leaders like Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Paine, James Otis, Patrick Henry, these are some of the intellectuals of the time. They have generated awareness in these societies that their main aim was to live very freely. And here Patrick Henry said that give me liberty or give me death. So this shows the kind of liberal principles they wanted, and they always wanted to love for their country, and they wanted to live very freely. They wanted fundamental rights, and here some of the modern ideas like democracy, republicanism, equality before law, fundamental rights, separation of powers, these are the modern principles. These people always wanted their government to follow these kind of liberal principles so that people can realize their goals to their fullest potential. These ideas and principles and intellectual awareness created awareness among the society, and they wanted complete freedom if there is any kind of restriction on their either movement or freedom of trade or fundamental rights. This is one of the reasons. Second one, negligible interference by the British government. Here, Great Britain has the government, but these 13 colonies have certain kind of autonomy, and this autonomously they tried to rule for themselves. That means British government was there, but here local people elected their legislative assembly people, and these people started ruling for themselves, and they matured, they got maturity, and they started feeling that they got the confidence that they can rule for themselves. And also, even though many these colonists settled and they came from Great Britain, but there is no affection for England in the colonies. Colonists' love for freedom and spirit of equality made them to go for American War of Independence. So even though British government was ruling these colonies, but autonomy was given to them. Always the colonists wanted to rule for themselves autonomously and independently. Till the time they got the maturity and confidence to rule for themselves, they dependent on British government, but later they felt that British government is imposing more restrictions, so they wanted to come out of those restrictions. Defective administrative system was another factor. Here, governor and executive council were responsible to the king. King sits in Great Britain. In case of India also Great Britain, when India became colony of Great Britain, here also Governor General and the Secretary of State, they responsible, Viceroy and Secretary of State, they were responsible to the king. Similarly, here Governor and Executive Council were responsible to the king, whereas Legislative Assembly is responsible for the local colonist. Now this kind of anomaly created certain friction in the administrative system. So this gradually made colonists think that this governor and executive council is unnecessary, and they wanted to fully rule for themselves. Next cause, impact of 7 Years War. 7 Years War, here in Europe there were always some kind of wars and battles. Here France and England, they used to stay on the both different sides of the war. Here 7 Years War means when there was war related to Austrian War of Succession, the Americans, the Britons on one side and French people on the other side participated. And here British, even though British gained the dominance, but economically it affected them. French danger in the north ended. Here, as a result of 7 Years War, the impact of French, here French people were there. Here you can see in this side, if you see the colonies, these British colonies, the neighboring side is French colonies. There was a threat from France to invasions, but when after 7 Years War, the French threat was eliminated. Now colonists are confident to rule for themselves without any threat from France. So French danger in the north ended, and economic exploitation of the colonies started. Because of 7 Years War, there was immense economic burden on the Great Britain. Now Great Britain wanted to come out of this economic burden. They wanted to impose more taxes on the colonies. Now they brought new laws as well. New laws like here navigation laws, trading regulations, industrial regulation. They imposed certain taxes like sugar tax, molasses tax, stamp duty, and Currency Act, Quartering Act. Through various tax measures, now Britain wanted to extract as much taxes as possible from the colonies. Here you can see these colonies were used for exporting raw material to the Great Britain, and Great Britain imported manufactured goods to these colonies. This was the practice exactly they followed in case of India as well later. Here we are talking about 1770s. So 1770s, it was also the time, if you see in India, 1757 is the Battle of Plassey, and 1764 is the Battle of Buxar. And after 1783 is the year when America got independence from Great Britain. But after 1783, British, they strengthened their foundations strongly in Indian colony. So they mainly used these colonies as a source of raw material, and they have used these raw materials in their manufacturing companies, and these manufactured goods were dumped into the colonies. So like through navigation loss means these colonies have to export their goods only through British ships. No other ships are allowed. And trading regulation, they have to sell their products to British merchants and British traders. Industrial regulation means colonies should not have any freedom to have their own industrial policies, because Great Britain has imposed industrial regulations as per the demand of the Great Britain. And when they imposed new taxes after 7 years war, now the colonists wanted complete freedom, and they raised the slogan that no taxation without representation. This slogan became very powerful, and now people wanted to fight against the British imperialism and British colonialism. And here Lord North, he passed immediate cause was when already this kind of resentment was there. When in 1773, when Lord North, he was the Prime Minister of Great Britain, when he imposed Tea Act, then the slogan no taxation without representation started. Here in 1773, if you see, India Regulating Act was passed with respect to East India Company in India, because at this time East India Company was in trouble. They applied for loan in Great Britain. To control or to interfere in the affairs of East India Company, they provided loan also, and at the same time they started regulating East India Company. Here the main purpose is East India Company was trading in tea. Now to provide relief to East India Company, they asked East India Company directly export to the 13 colonies. Now when there were tea bags in a port called Boston, the American colonists went there and they completely destroyed the tea bags. This is called Boston Tea Party in American history. This took place in 1773. So this was the immediate cause, and from there in 1776 they declared independence, and they took up the arms, and continuously they fought till 1783. And after this, in 1783, here during this war, French also supported American colonists, and after 1773, finally in Treaty of Paris, Great Britain accepted independence of 13 British colonies. So these are various causes for American War of Independence. Here let us recap. One is ideas and principles. Here they became matured enough to rule for themselves, and they wanted modern principles like democracy, republicanism, fundamental rights, separation of powers. After becoming independent, they followed these principles, and these principles even today also America is following, and it became a beacon for democracy for entire world. Next, negligible interference by the British government. British government, even though they were ruling them, but they have given autonomy to British colonists. This made them confident that they can rule for themselves. Defective administrative system. There is an anomaly in the administrative system, and British colonists wanted to eliminate this anomaly. Impact of 7 Years' War. Because of 7 Years' War, Great Britain went into a lot of troubles, and these struggles, economic struggles, now they tried to impose more taxes on colonies, and they started exploiting economically the colonists, and this made them resentment, and they raised the slogan no taxation without representation, and they took up the arms and fought continuously, and they gained independence in 1783 through Treaty of Paris. Great Britain accepted independence of 13 British colonies, and here the major one of the cornerstone development during this 1783 was siege of Yorktown, or surrender of surrender of Cornwallis. So with the Cornwallis surrendered, the same Cornwallis after American War of Independence, he was sent to India as Governor General of Fort William, and he strengthened the foundations of Great Britain Empire in India later. So here there is one more question also related to this. Britain lost one colony but strengthened other colony. This is in the context of Indian history. So here you can correlate the time period. This is about examine the causes for American War of Independence. Thank you.